Welcome to the Freelance Unlocked Behind the Scenes series, where I'm showcasing the amazing people who will be at the Freelance Unlocked Conference, the first and the best conference for freelancers that it made with love, and it'll take place in Berlin on May 14th, 15th, 2025. If you are a freelancer in Europe, it's an event made for you to learn, exchange experiences, and build your network of great freelancers and experts who move the freelance economy forward. So go to freelanceunlocked.com and grab your ticket right away. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Freelance Unlocked, and my guest is amazing Thomas Marbella, entrepreneur, developer, investor, and mentor, a founder of OneCode and Rich Dev Poor Dev, and one of the most insightful speakers of the Freelance Unlocked 2024. So, hello, Thomas.
Hey Yuri, nice to meet you again.
It's been not that long ago that we had our previous conversation. So let's just continue. For those who wants to listen our previous pre-freelance Unlocked 2024 interview, it will be the link in the description. But what changed in your freelancing life during the last year?
I think quite a lot, especially with the Freelance Unlocked Conference. And I gotta be honest, it was like the best conference ever. Like seriously,
Woo!
not being sassy. I think what really changed is that I got a little bit more into the community, and I worked with around 50 freelancers last year. And it really changed my perspective, how people approach their problems, how hard freelancing can be, but as well as how easy it can be once you take a step forward and do some work. I really gotta admit, it really changed a little bit that many freelancers got back to unemployment, and that's no shame, that's no bad thing. It's just because of the market and maybe things didn't really work out. And that some trends, for example, changed. I mean, I'm an app developer. We are an app development agency with OneCode. But I gotta admit, native app development isn't the best stack anymore. And yes, everybody's talking about data, AI, and stuff. What really works well is cloud, BI, AI a little bit, stuff like that. So things really, really changed, but I think that's also part of the game in tech.
Are you also turning into like jumping into this AI train?
I mean, like, I heard that buzzword, I think, 8 years ago when people are like, yeah, AI is the next big thing. It is, sure. You can see what ChatGPT does and everybody else. But let's be honest, you always have to see the value behind it and the real practical thing that it does. I would say many people that I know, many AI freelancers are heavily doing, let's say, cheap AI stuff with wrapping their own GPT wrapper and doing small business stuff. That's nice, but that's not really AI.
Hmm.
And the people doing real AI with real neural networks and everything else are highly paid and they have like big projects, but they're not a lot out there. And still, it's not like that if you're doing AI, you get a 200K job. It's not a thing. But things are changing. And what's also very important is that many people tell me, yeah, heck, it's going to be the next big thing. We need AI. So what you need is some digitalization, some software. It's not AI. So guess that's one thing.
Yeah, it's always when I'm speaking to non-tech people, they're like, "Oh my God, AI, AI," and then when I'm speaking to tech people, they're like, "Yeah, AI,
Yeah.
yeah." So yeah, it's always a difference on perception, and I totally agree with you. And I'm curious, what is your quick take on the freelance economy and how it will develop in near future?
I mean, I'm a very optimistic person. So usually, I think also 2 years ago, I was like, yeah, this crisis won't last long. Give it 6 months or so. I was so wrong. And I gotta admit, the market got better around June something, but not really better. And I also gotta admit, the December that we had was the worst December ever. And usually around December, everybody wanna put out their budget, make big contracts, whatever. This didn't really happen. And I also can see that companies are still laying off people and that there are some new projects on the market, but mostly only necessary ones. So I still hope it gets better and better, but it's probably more slow and steady. And it may take a couple of months more, even though I wish it wouldn't.
Yeah, let's see. Let's hope. It's always like hope dies the last. So give me a sneak peek into what you'll be talking about on the Freelance Unlocked 2025 stage.
For sure. So I think many freelancers are always saying that they don't want to trade money and their time. And usually as a freelancer, you're a somewhat better paid employee. It's the truth. And everybody's talking about having their software as a service and stuff, but that's very complex and expensive. But starting an agency is always the dream of many people and also was mine. So I will take those freelancers and say, hey, these are my big lessons learned from 6 years having an agency with now 3 million of revenue in the German app market. So this is all about, and it's usually more about soft skills and less about the actual developer hard skills. And I think once you know how it's done, it's not that hard. But I wish I would have had that knowledge earlier because I did so many mistakes and I want to save everybody else these mistakes.
I remember I having a conversation with Chihan, who was also a speaker at Freelance Unlocked about starting an agency, and he was like, "Yeah, I was just tired of doing this admin stuff, so I decided just to connect with people and just start an agency so I can finally do what I love, but while others are also running this thing." So, still building an agency sounds like more solid, like the next level than freelancing, but it feels like also a little bit of challenging, I would say. And I'm curious how to understand from your perspective, how do you understand that you are ready to start an agency?
Whew. So I think that's a very complex question, starting with the word solid. So yes, good thing is once your company and agency runs, it's a solid thing. So and if you do everything right, you don't have to do that much because your persons are on projects, they're performing. And I got to be honest, with OneCode, it's only like 5 hours a week of work because everybody's it's working. I build up systems, I build up people, and it's only about a strategy, about acquiring projects. And even that works alone. So that's a good thing. Bad thing is, before I come to readiness, it has some disadvantages if you get things wrong. So the worst thing that I ever had was that we were running out of projects and the crisis came and we had, I think, a cash burn of 50K per month and we only had 130K left. And I was like, damn. So you have to have a good night's sleep, even though things may get bad, even though your employees may be unhappy, projects may not be working. So that's the threshold of being an entrepreneur. Um, but let's say about the readiness, once you say you're a good freelancer, you know how to make money. You don't have to make a shitload of money. It's around 100, 150K, and you know how to somewhat get clients. So that's the first step. Then you may be ready for your first employee. You don't have to have 100 clients, like, but if you know with some work within a month or two, I can get a new client or a new project for my employee, then you're good to go. First employee is always the very biggest step, the biggest emotional step ever. But trust me, like you get used to it. When I had my 17th employee, I was like, yeah, it's kind of Tuesday. You get used to it. I think having clients or having a reproducible way of getting clients and having a good gut feeling with it is the first step to the first employee.
You also talked about building processes, and it's something that I hear a lot from
Ah, yeah.
freelancers that even if you are just freelancing, you have to have those processes ready because otherwise you just have like doom day every day because you are meeting some new things and like what the hell is going on. But as long as you have some systems, process, you just go to them and like everything just works. So I'm curious, when you started your agency, did you build processes from scratch, or maybe did you already have some process? Like, what is your relationship with building processes?
That's a good one. Especially as a developer, it's a very special and important question because developer like to develop system processes, automate things. But I gotta be honest, like many tend to overcomplicate and over-engineer things. There's also the developer anti-pattern Yagni. You ain't gonna need it. So the best thing as an entrepreneur with your own agency that you can do regarding processes is to automate and to do a process once you see you got to do things over and over again. For example, when I wanted to have a new client, I was doing the same 5 steps over and over again. So I built a system for it with 2 single steps for one employee. He can do this. I don't have to deal anymore. Some things are automated, not everything. But now it was like it's a process, it's a working system. Next thing was about finding employees and recruiting and the contracting and all the stuff. I did this over and over again. And after the 10th time, I was like, let's build a process for that. Same for onboarding. So it doesn't have to be huge, but you got to tell your new employees what they do, how they do it, what values your corporation has, and so on. So if you see yourself repeating the same things, build a process and only then, not before that.
By the way, you reminded me 100 million leads by Alex Hormozy because he
Yeah.
has really good process on how to, when you build something, you know how to do it, and then how to teach people to do the
Yes.
same and how to go with them so they can kind of replace you and how to multiply this process. So I think that it's really good
Yeah.
to read this book.
That's also very, very, very good thing. I know many freelancers or even small agency owners who say, I don't have enough sales, I don't have enough clients, projects. I just want to hire a salesperson doing this for me. And this
Hmm.
never works. Never, never, ever. I said it so many times. The thing is, if you can't explain this person how to actually get projects, what shall they do? So, and if they actually know how to get projects on their own, they would have their own agency or cost you like 200K. So you cannot let someone else solve your problems if you don't understand them.
I feel like that's a free niche on the market,
It
becoming a
is.
sales person for freelancers.
Yes.
So someone you can go to, they know how it works, they know how to get clients, they know how to get leads, and they kind of bring in them to you. But I feel like that's something exactly what Code Control does and
Yeah.
some OneCode does. So basically,
Same.
is we build systems and clients are coming back, and we're just helping people to find those projects. So you told a little bit about the skills, about the difference of the skills of running an agency and being a freelancer. So I'm curious, what skills do freelancers need to run an agency?
Quite a lot, quite a lot. So it's not about the technical skills. There are many skilled developers out there. It's more about the soft skills itself. Having a good, reliable network is the first thing. You don't need to have like hundreds of C-level contacts, but maybe five, maybe like 50 other people that you know. And what I didn't know earlier was if you do have mentors or if you do have like multiplicators in your network, this really makes a huge difference. I can tell you, I now have like around 1,300 contacts in my smartphone, but I usually talk to the same 50 people always over and over again. And probably 10 out of them give me 80% of my projects. It's totally Pareto. So figure out who's important, connect with them, be nice to them, give them value. And it makes your life so much easier. You don't need to have a big load of contacts network, but you have to have the right ones. That's one thing. And I think the second thing, especially for developers that I see over and over again, is being pragmatic and risking something, being a little bit brave. Because
Hmm.
as a developer, you want to have everything perfect, and in your code, it needs to be perfect, needs to be tested, no bugs at all. Sure. But as an entrepreneur, things will go wrong and shit will happen. Trust me. And it's your task to have the mentality and attitude to say, that's fine. I will not do big mistakes, but things will happen and I will take care of them once that happens. So I was like, I will never get sued or whatever, but this happens for whatever reason. So I was like, hey, I will never run into like a big space without work, but this happens. So, and you gotta keep your feet still, think about it, figure out a solution, and gotta go. And the bigger your company and your agency grows, the bigger the problems get. And my mentor told me that he had a mentor and said, I want to have his problems. He's making 100 million in revenue. He's
Yeah.
talking about losing a million or 10. I want to have these problems. And I was like, holy. So,
Yeah.
and now it's the same for me. Like, I make a fuck up, cost me like 50K. Yeah, that's very bad, but shit happens. So just keep going forward and embrace failure and learn from it. Very important.
Yeah, I feel like it's always not about not having problems, but about the level of problems.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's exactly what the mindset of different entrepreneurs and freelancers and agency owner and like unicorn companies owners, because they just think a little differently. And for someone like losing one project may be a problem. For someone like losing 100K projects may be a problem. So
Yeah.
it's totally, but I feel like it's the hardest part to really grow to this point, and I feel like you are growing only by doing and repeating those mistakes
Yes.
and by learning by those mistakes. And what really resonates with me is, as you've told, like finding these multipliers. And I feel like when you are finding those people you work with, you're making things easier for them too, because they don't really want to find new person all the time. Because when they have some problems, they need to know that they can go to Thomas and Thomas will help them
Yes.
do everything. They don't need to have like 100 list of 100 people and then try to find who will help them. So I feel like it's a two-side street. Like you both help each other.
That's right. I think one important thing is also when I was in the Silicon Valley, they had a completely different attitude. They were like, yeah, we kind of pivoted and crashed like for 10, 11 times in a row. And everybody in Germany would be like, oh my God, it's so bad. And they're like, no, 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 we're getting closer to the solution. And I also see that in my academy in Richard Purift, and when people are trying positions on the market and offers and stuff, it'll take time and iterations. But like after the seventh, eighth, ninth iteration, you gotta find a solution, you gotta find a market, you gotta find clients. And knowing that, you'll be like, first three times are maybe shit. Yeah, sure. But you will be closer to the solution. Just have grit, stay to it, and you'll be good.
And talking about the clients, like why would they prefer to work with an agency than with a freelancer?
Pretty hard question, Yuri. I gotta be really honest. Usually they prefer working with a freelancer over an agency because
Mhm.
people buy other persons, humans, and people, and usually not companies. So also when I get a contract for OneCode, they buy me. They
Mhm.
trust me and say, hey, Thomas is a cool guy. I trust him. I trust his team. So having a personal brand and being a freelancer and selling yourself, even with your company, is the number one thing to go. It's called founder sales. And it's always that thing. So you got to be the face of your agency and you got to be the biggest salesperson ever. Um, and they will trust you. And it's pretty easy, to be honest, to have this transition saying, yeah, you want my Android skills, that's 150 an hour. And they're like, oh, that's very, very expensive. Like, yeah. But I have employees doing the same on the same level for only 100. And they're like, yeah, we take your employees. That sounds good. Yes, that's what you want to have. So yeah, people buy persons, not agencies.
And I also heard from other freelancers that sometimes there is a problem when you want to work with a huge corporate company. It's hard for them to work with individuals, and that's exactly why they go
Yes.
to agencies. Do you have the same experience?
Yeah, totally. So I had it also in the very, very beginning. We also had it like yesterday. We had a new contract and they were like, yeah, it's a big pharma company. And they're like, yeah, you need to make at least 20 million in revenue per year. And we were
Hmm.
like, we make three. Yeah, that's not enough. Yeah. They were like, yeah, we want to work with you. Yeah, make it happen. So they
Make it.
said we're gonna do a small due diligence, and the CTO liked me, so that's the person in charge. It's called getting the listing, and we have
Hmm.
that for various corporates. It was always very hard, but we also already got that, for example, at Porsche when we were like a small company with 500K revenue. So if you know the right person, they will make things happen. And if you don't know the right person, you got to find someone that tunnels you. So you can still go to any other big company and even may it be Hayes or whatever. Say, I gotta pay you like 5% fee, and you gotta tunnel me. You have the KPIs, I have the team. So they will make easy money. They will do this. I do the same for some freelancers. So this can work out and don't let this rattle you. So it's possible, and having the right people on the plane makes a difference.
It sounds to me that if you are a freelancer, you have to network with agency owners, and when you are an agency owner, you have to network with like someone inside the company who can let you in. So it's always about finding who to network with.
Yeah.
So, what are some pros and cons for running an agency compared to solo freelancing?
I will start with the biggest pro. Like I became a freelancer to say I want to have more freedom. So yeah, money is nice, but money buys you the freedom. But at the very end, you still have your 40 hours a week and so on. Still not real freedom. And as an agency company owner and you have people working for you, you do have real freedom once you set it up right.
Yeah.
There are also agency owners who don't have freedom because they have to work 50 hours a week because they can't delegate or automate. That's very important. Usually it's also an ego thing that they say, ah, nobody can do this as good as me. So that's bullshit. So freedom is the biggest advantage ever, and I really enjoy that. Finances for sure, it's leverage. So I leverage myself via my employees, hourly rates, and so on. It's good as a freelancer to make 100, 200K, but you probably will not make a million. As a company, making 1 or 2 millions is not that hard. Um, the disadvantage is it's a whole different level of not even stress, but more like responsibility. So you have to have a good night's sleep if you know companies burning 50K a month, and that's easy. And knowing you don't have big financial stuff, whatever. So be resilient, and know that there are solutions out there. There will be bad times. Also, firing someone is very hard in the first place. I had to do this like 4 times now. I'm okay with it. It's not nice, but you got to get used to it. So I think these are the things. And if somebody's listening and thinking about starting an agency, becoming an entrepreneur, I can totally encourage everybody because it's a whole different level. Yeah, it may be hard in the beginning. I also can help you, but it's so nice to have this lifestyle, to have this freedom, do whatever you want, still make some money with it. So it's nice.
So for those who listen now, what is one small step to take today to improve their freelancing business? Or maybe start an agency. It
Yeah.
depends.
Best step is always to have more clients, and this starts by knowing what you offer on the market, because everybody thinks it's about sales. Yeah, it is. But if you have a bad offer, you could be the best salesperson ever. It wouldn't make a difference. And if you have a good offer and you're a below par salesperson, you will still make money. So having a very good offer is now one thing. And second thing, if you think about starting such an agency and you have somewhat enough clients, know how to get clients, be brave enough, maybe talk to me or somebody else, get your first employee, try it out, found a company, because this is the hardest part. But once this works, it's a whole different level.
You know, Thomas, I wish to have the sky is the limit, but time is the limit. So the final question, what would you say to your friend if they asked you whether they should go to the Freelance Unlocked?
Without lying, it's the best conference ever. Go there, network, really have fun. I had so much fun at this conference. Enjoy it. Yeah, it's a happening.
And what is the best way to connect with you?
On LinkedIn, Thomas Marbella on LinkedIn. Drop me a message, write me whatever. I'm happy to connect to help you. Yeah,
Got it, Thomas. Thank you so much for having this continuous conversation and continue sharing your wisdom, even like before the conference and after the conference, and once again before the conference. And once again, I can't wait to learn and finally meet you once again on Freelance Unlocked in person.
sure. Thank you.
And for those who listen, I hope you learn from Thomas' experience already and will say thank you to him in person at the Freelance Unlocked Conference on May 14th, 15th, 2025 in Berlin. So go to freelanceunlocked.com, grab your ticket and meet you there.